Chapter 3 of Wind in the Willows, The Open Road. "Ratty," said the mole, suddenly, one bright summer morning, "I want to ask you a favor." The rat was sitting on the river bank singing a little song. Since the early morning, he had been swimming in the river in company with his friends, the ducks. "What I wanted to ask you was, won't you take me to call on Mr. Toad? I've heard so much about him, and I do so want to meet him." "Why, certainly," said the good-natured rat, jumping to his feet. "Get the boat out, and we'll paddle up there at once. It's never the wrong time to call on Toad. Always good-tempered, always glad to see you, always sorry when you go." "He must be a very nice animal," observed the mole, as he got into the boat and took the oars. Rat settled himself comfortably in the stern. "He is indeed the best of animals," replied Rat. "Perhaps he's not very clever, and it may be that he is both boastful and conceited, but Toady has got some great qualities." Rounding a bend in the river, they came in sight of a handsome, dignified old house of a mellowed red brick with well-kept lawns reaching out down to the water's edge. "There's Toad Hall," said the rat, "and that creek on the left, where the notice board says 'Private, no landing allowed,' leads to the boathouse where we'll leave the boat. The stables are over there to the right, and that's the banquet hall you're looking at now. Very old, that is. Toad is rather rich, you know, and this is really one of the nicest houses in these parts, though we never admit so much to Toad." They glided up the creek and passed into the shadow of a large boathouse. Here they saw many beautiful boats slung from the cross beams or hauled up on a ship, but none in the water. The rat looked around. "I wonder what new fad he has taken up now. We shall hear quite about it soon enough." They strolled across the lawns in search of Toad, whom they presently happened upon resting in a garden chair with a large map spread out on his knees. "Hooray!" he cried, jumping up on seeing them. "This is splendid!" He shook the paws of both of them warmly, never waiting for an introduction to Mole. "I was just going to send a boat down the river for you, Ratty. You don't know how lucky it is. You're turning up just now." "Let's sit quiet a bit, Toady," said the rat, throwing himself into an easy chair, while the mole took another by the side of him. "Now look there," Toad said. "You've got to help me. It's most important." "It's about your rowing, I suppose," said the rat with an innocent air. "With a great deal of patience and some expert coaching, you may—" "Oh, pooh, boating!" interrupted the Toad, in great disgust. "I've given up that long ago. Sheer waste of time, that's what it is. No, I've discovered the real thing, the only true occupation for a lifetime. Come with me, dear Ratty, and your friend also, if he will be very good, just as far as the stable yard." He led the way to the stable yard accordingly. The rat followed with the most distrustful expression. There, in front of the coach house, they saw a shiny, new, horse-drawn carriage. It had red wheels and was painted canary yellow with a green trim. "There you are!" cried the Toad. "There's real life for you. The open road, the dusty highway, the whole world before you, and a horizon that's always changing. And mind, this is the finest cart of its sort that was ever built. Come inside, look at the details. Planned 'em all myself, I did." It was indeed very compact and comfortable. Little sleeping bunks, a little table that folded up against a wall, a cooking stove, lockers, bookshelves, a bird cage with a bird in it, and pots, pans, jugs, and kettles of every size and variety. "All complete," said the Toad triumphantly. "You'll find that nothing has been forgotten when we make our start this afternoon." "I beg your pardon," said the rat slowly as he chewed a straw. "But did I overhear you say something about we and start and this afternoon?" "Now, you dear old good Ratty," said Toad, "don't begin talking in that stiff and sniffy kind of way. I want to show you the whole world. I'm going to make an animal out of you, my boy." "I don't care," said the rat stubbornly, quite displeased with the Toad's sudden change of heart toward boating. I'm not coming and that's flat. And what's more, Mole's going to stick by me, aren't you, Mole? Of course I am, said the Mole loyally. I'll always stick with you, Rat, but it sounds as if it might have well been rather fun, you know? The Rat saw what was passing in his mind and wavered. He hated disappointing people, and he was fond of Mole, and would do almost anything to make him happy. Toad was watching both of them very closely. Come along in and have some lunch, he said, diplomatically, and we'll talk it over. I only want to give pleasure to you fellows, live for others. That's my motto in life. During lunch, which was excellent, of course, everything at Toad Hall always was. Toad painted the prospects of the trip and the joys of the open life in the roadside in such a glowing colors that the Mole could hardly sit in his chair for excitement. The Rat, though still unconvinced, allowed his good nature to override his personal objections. He could not bear to disappoint his two friends, who were already planning out each day's adventures for several weeks ahead. We'll stop there for today.